Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and all the little nooks and crannies where our 100,000 watt transmitter's signal permeates into that magical box that Howard continues to love, call the good old radio, the FM radio, the HD radio, whatever radio you have. And of course, good morning to those around the world listening to us over the magical waves of the internet, created by whom? None other than we the people of the United States of America and other countries put in the ARPANET together. Well, actually, we put the ARPANET together. We here in the United States put the ARPANET together and created the ability for us to communicate. We the people, not the billionaire. Remember, folks, we the people are the ones that do everything. You know, before I get to Howard and Jack, I interviewed Tom Hartman yesterday. I learned a whole lot in the interview that I did with him yesterday. I'll probably bring that to you guys sometime next week. I'm going to play that today on my 3 o'clock show. But I tell you what, he gave some good insights on why it was or why it is that the upper class, the oligarchy, is trying so hard to tamp down on the middle class. And again, like I said, I learned a lot from that exchange that we had. In that, it's a worthwhile interview. But before we get started, let's go to the people who really make things happen around here, the geniuses in the studios, also known as Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Bibba.
Well, who are those guys again?
The geniuses, man, the geniuses.
No, the poor guys who are really good at avoiding real work. And good morning to Vancouver. Why the heck not?
Wow.
If you're listening. And yeah, I do love radios. I absolutely love radios. Those are the magical boxes because they are.
And you can turn them up.
And you can rock the house with them.
You can break sheetrock with it.
And as I do regularly up here, and I always get in trouble for turning up the music way too loud.
Wait, I'm concerned. I missed something from Jack. Did he say something about sheetrock?
Yeah, you can break sheetrock.
What does that mean?
Oh, it means you turn it up so loud it just rattles the sheetrock and it starts to crack.
I got you. I missed that one. Okay. Hey, wake up, Egberto.
The building here is, I'm crumbling the foundation now with my speakers upstairs.
Okay.
Sandy comes in and goes, turn that down.
Yeah, Dad.
I said, sure, Dad. Why not?
Why the heck not?
One of the things that I have upstairs, and I'm very, very happy to have one of them, is a rare Sansui QRX 6500 that pumps out so many watts it could just blow this building down. And I had that thing rebuilt. That thing is 51 years old. And I had it rebuilt. And man, you want to talk about some feeling.
Is that tubes are no transistors then, right? Tubes?
No, it's not a tube radio.
Okay.
The tube radios, they sort of kind of went out around 1970 or so. This is a 73 model Sansui.
Okay.
Rocks the house. It's one of those quad sets. If you remember those, you may not, because it was
I don't.
kind of short-lived. It was quadraphonic, but they didn't have the advanced technology to actually make quadraphonic work. It was one of the first 4 speakers. There was a station that in town here that broadcasted in quad, a couple of them broadcasted in quad on FM. KAUM was one of them. KLOL was another one. And it didn't really work out, but it sounded fantastic when you got it to work right.
Wow.
So, and then the Who's Quadrophenia, I'm sure you've heard of that one.
No, I have. I mean, by this speech, we can see that you really love radio. I'm learning a lot right here. Let me hear it. What's that other one now?
Oh, what?
Quadra something?
Quadrophenia?
Yeah.
Yeah. The rockers will know that one. It's The Who. And it was one of the albums that was released in quad, where you had 4 speakers and surround sound, much like you have today, where they've got the 5 speakers now with the center speaker. But this was a 4-speaker setup. And that's what this thing does. You can't play quad with it, of course, because there's nothing broadcast in quad. But it was a big deal in the early 70s to FM radio. And some of our broadcasters here in town adapted the system, and they sounded really great. So I couldn't afford one. That thing was $700 in 1973.
Ouch. Yeah.
I mean, that's dang near $5,000 now if you were to go buy one, adjusted for inflation. But I had this thing rebuilt last year because I really, really loved it. I bought it and blew it up, playing it too loud. Couldn't afford to have it fixed until last year, so I got it fixed, and holy smoke, I've been missing out. So anyway, this long rambling story here has to end because Jack has a half a page of wisdom for us, something more than my prattle.
No, stereophonic sound is always in style here. All right, good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay, this is going to be about healthcare. We simply must get the insurance companies out from between the doctors and their patients. There's no place for politics in patient care. Single payer would solve so many problems and abuses of the healthcare system. A reasonable tax would be better than outrageous insurance premiums, the denial of healthcare services, and overpriced pharmaceuticals any day of the week.
Hey, Egberto, can you
Yes,
explain to me what single payer means? I don't know what it means. I mean,
Okay.
I'm ignorant here, but
Oh, no,
you
no.
know what it means.
I am glad that you asked that because and that Jack mentioned that because it is so important. They give it all kind of bad names. Single payer simply means that one entity, whether it be the government, a nonprofit or whatever, gets all the bills and it pays it all out. And let me tell you the difference about that from what we have now. Right now we have insurance. We have several insurance companies. We have whatever. Man, it's amazing. I can't think of not one insurance company. But anyway, we have many insurance companies, right? Whether it be Cigna, whether it be whatever. And each of those insurance companies get your bill from the doctors or whatever, and they pay the bill. You pay the insurance companies to go ahead and insure you. That's how it works right now. A single payer says all the bills come to one entity, one company, the government or whatever, and then they pay the bill out. And the reason that is efficient is the following. Single payer assume no profit. Right now, every single one of those insurance companies that we pay, whether it be Cigna or State Farm, whatever health insurance company that we have, they all have a president, a vice president. They all have computer systems. They all have shareholders. Those shareholders, from the monies that we pay them to insure us, those shareholders skim some to the top for their own profit. The executives, if they save a little bit of money, they get big bonuses, which they always save a little bit of money because, again, that's what they do. They deny services. So that's what happens. A single payer system doesn't have any of those costs. It doesn't have. It has one executive or administrator. If it's in the government, it'll be one administrator that's get a salary. We don't talk about profit. We don't talk about shareholders. So none of those costs that you pay for by paying a premium, it has to be paid out. Absolutely every penny that you pay into a single payer system, except for administrative costs, goes into healthcare. Now, whenever we want to figure out what it costs, the expenses, bonuses, and profit in a standard health insurance company runs between 18 and 30% or higher, which means if they collect $100 billion, only $70 billion or so goes towards paying the bills, right? In the system that we call a single payer system, a Medicare for all system, only 2% is the cost of running the computer system, paying the employees to administer the plans, paying for things like fraud detection, all of that. That's only 2%. If you doubt the efficiency of this, as we have a single payer system right now in practice called traditional Medicare. Traditional Medicare costs a whole lot less than every private insurance company. In fact, as an example, when you go to Medicare Advantage, which isn't really Medicare, it's just private insurance that calls themselves Medicare, the government pays 20% more for people who have Medicare Advantage than for people who have traditional Medicare. Again, it is a rip. When you don't have a single payer system, what you're doing is you're simply creating the opportunity for private companies to suck your dollar to pay a bill. I don't mind private companies making profits at all. I've had private companies myself. I want to make a profit. That's what a free enterprise system is supposed to be. But to make that profit to pay a bill, there are certain things that don't belong in the private sector, and it's hell trying to fight it, because here's what they tell you, Howard. They tell you Americans want choices. Do Americans really want choices to pay a bill? That's what they say. America wants choices. You can have either Cigna, or you can name whatever insurance company you want to name. And what I say is, what you're asking for is which robber do you want to choose? Which slave master do you want to choose? And that's what it really is. So did you get that? Did I make it clear or not, Howard?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why we haven't done this all along.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm glad you asked.
How did this happen?
I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why haven't we done this all along? Because it sounds so reasonable and sounds so okay. Well, that makes total sense.
Let me tell you why.
What choices? You have doctors. You can have a choice of doctors, apparently, because I didn't hear anything in there saying, you can't go to that doctor. You can't go to the specialist. I didn't hear anything saying that. I mean, I'm just wondering why we haven't done this all along, because it sounds like a pretty good system.
Howard.
And it cuts out tons and tons and tons of paperwork and junk.
Howard, you're a genius. You see why I call you guys in the studio genius? That's the reason why. You hit the nail on the head.
Well, basically, I'm just ignorant about the whole thing.
No, sir. No. No American is ignorant on this. Americans have been made ignorant because of the propaganda that's put out there. Let me give an example, okay? I'm going to give you an example. Eric Hayes is on the chat right now. Paul Fleming is on the chat from Atlanta, and Eric is in from Houston. Eric is a very conservative dude that have bought the Kool-Aid. And let me explain. And right away, I love Eric. Eric is my brother, but misled. He says, don't kid yourself, still have bonus, etc., and nonprofit administration. Then he says, someone will get screwed in social medicine or otherwise. Really? So the corporations market it as somehow we're giving Americans choices when they can go with Cigna or they can go with some other health insurance company. When what they're saying is you're choosing who do you want to screw you. And you mentioned a very important fact, Howard. You asked, wait a minute, you didn't mention anything about not being able to choose my doctor. That is a wonderful thing about single payer. Single payer is freedom, because it says one person or one entity pays the bill, but you can go ahead and go to the doctor that you like, go to the doctor that's serving you. When you go to a health insurance company right now, they make all kinds of deals with different doctor groups. And then they tell you, in network, you can go see this doctor, this doctor, this doctor, and it doesn't cost you, or it doesn't cost you too much. But if you go out of network, you pay an arm and a leg. And when you're in the hospital, here's a big deal. Many times, whenever you're in the hospital, you see a doctor put his head through the door, and then he just comes in, he takes your vitals, and then later on, a couple of months down, you see a bill on your insurance company, a bill in your box, and it says insurance company didn't pay. Well, this doctor at that hospital came, saw you, went ahead and bill you. It turns out he's not on that particular preferred insurance plan. And guess who gets stuck with the bill? You do. That's what happens when you don't have single payer like we have today. When I talk about these systems as being a fraud and just there to rip off the middle classes and the poor, that's what I mean. Yesterday morning after I got off the show here, I was on WAOK in Atlanta. They asked me to guest on the station, and we're talking about some of this. And it's amazing because when I called a part of the economy of fraud, I got pushed back, right? And then when I explained it, it was like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. We are so ill-informed just because they want a few people to make $1 on our backs. But anyway, let's go to brother. Before I get started, I got to go to, let me tell you what the show is about first. And then I'm going to go to Johnny. Today's show is titled Ozempic and Wegovy Corporate Greed Pricing. The second item is an interview with Chuck Pennacchio. Chuck Pennacchio is a supporter of universal health care, but since we know we can't get it right now on the national level, he has started it on the local level with California, I think, Oregon, Maine, and Washington, I believe, to try to get it on that on the state level. We probably won't get to that, so you'll probably have to go to the newsletter to see it. And as well, we have my interview on WAOK. But again, you'll probably have to see that on the newsletter because I know the calls are going to come in after I do the Wegovy stuff. But for now, I'm going to take the first 3 calls that came in before I do my monologue. So let's go to Brother Johnny.
Good morning. And I remember back in 1973 or 1971, one of our scoutmasters who had a nice air-conditioned luxury car, his car was equipped with those speakers, and he played Emerson, Lake and Palmer on his A-track, and I went, wow, that was something else. And so I was hooked. And then all of a sudden one day it went away, and I said, what was that all about? Like the 8-track tape system. So anyway, there's that. So I understand Captain Reynolds Rapp's affection for it. Why not?
Why not, right?
But it's weightless, so why not 8-track tapes? Anyway, so we improve over time. But here's the thing about universal health care. When I first heard of universal health care years ago, and then a few years after that, they started talking about single payer, I thought to myself, that sounds kind of redundant because when you think about what universal health care means, the payment itself is implied that you don't handle the payments anymore. You pay you have your tax deduction like you do for FICA, and your boss pays in, and hopefully you have a tax code system where it's progressive enough like you had in the Eisenhower years, and there's enough money to pay for it, and the government has caseworkers whose job it is to process payments for you. So when they added the word the phrase single payer. I thought that was unnecessary and redundant and maybe a little confusing. But now I embrace it, and I say single payer style. I had that extra word style, so I explain. Just like when I say corporate industrial oligarchy, I say corporate industrial oligarchy. I don't just say oligarchy, because when I say corporate industrial, people already have an idea of what I'm talking about, so I don't have to explain myself, to the nth degree and get so granular with them. So single payer style is how I explain it to folks. Yeah. And by the way, we have the same problem in our public school systems right now, thanks to the Republicans. The way they are dumbing it down our populace, and they're enriching themselves with corporate CEO salaries and pay packages and advertising budgets and fancy office furniture and office space, just like insurance companies do, who do nothing but pay the bills, so to speak, but also wet their beaks at the same time. And you know that I know that eventually somebody has to not get health care in order for them to wet their beaks.
No,
So
that's what they
there's
do.
that.
That's why there used to be a time you never had to, a doctor didn't have to call to get permission for to get use service by an insurance company. Now doctors have to get what's called pre-authorizations to get things done. So your doctor may say, you know what, I need to do this test to determine what's wrong with you, but I need pre-authorization. He calls up the insurance companies and they say authorization denied. My wife had a severe anemia. Because she has lupus, and she was going through some stresses with shingles. So her levels really tanked to near fatal levels. And they prescribed her this. It's an expensive drug to boost your hemoglobin. I don't remember what it's called. And they actually denied they denied it. And I gave them, they gave it to her immediately for a few months, and then they denied it. And I got on the phone with them and I said, this is not up for debate. You all are going to approve it, period. And, when they saw that when they thought it was somebody who would take it further, that's what they did. But the problem is most people, when they're denied these services, they just go ahead and say, okay, well, I guess I can't have it.
They cave.
Right, they cave.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because not only is it just on the onus put on the patient and the family, but on the doctor, who has to pay extra people to deal with insurance companies. This is tragic, and it's wasteful. It's wasteful, and if we eliminate all that, guess what? We can afford to cover. We can afford to provide health care to everybody. It's not just a piece of paper anymore. I don't want health insurance. I want health care.
Johnny, please hold a second, because I want to show the misinformation that is out there, because Eric Hayes is on the chat and I want to read what he said. This is very important. I imagine he copy pasted it from some right wing place or something like that. Here's what he says. Single payer cons, higher taxes. Some argue that raising taxes to fund single payer healthcare would harm the economy. Reduced choice. Some opponents believe that government control of services would reduce individual choice in healthcare decisions. Longer wait times, increasing access to care without increasing the number of providers can lead to longer wait times. Doctor departures. Some opponents believe that doctors would leave the state to practice in other places. Ration care. Some opponents believe that patients' needs would overwhelm providers loading to ration care. That is evident. He picked that up from some crazy place. And let me tell you, what that asks you to do is not to think. Remember what single payer is. It's not the doctor side of the equation. It's a side that says after the services are provided, one entity pays the bill. He is saying, to believe that rather ridiculous statement, you would have to believe that taking out 30% of all premiums paid justifies all of what he said. The reason why they are so against critical thinking is because when you critically think, the corporations can no longer take advantage of you. They take about, on average, 30% of your premiums off the top, not paid for medical care. How dare anybody say, oh, it'll cost you more? No, it'll cost more taxes, but you won't have that $10,000 premium. You won't have that $20,000 premium anymore. It's not rocket science. It is critical, simple thinking.
I'll mention it now before I forget. Currently,
Yes.
and you might correct me, maybe those numbers have changed since I checked it last, but not too long ago, the business model of these so-called health insurance companies is based on a decline rate of 17%. So in other words, out of every 100 claims, 17 of those claims they have to deny in order to make themselves money. And that over time will increase.
I don't doubt that number. In fact, I think that number may be conservative. Ask anybody who's been to a hospital. Ask anybody who's seen a doctor consecutively and see what their unbalanced bills are. Many of these doctors overbill, in fact, the insurance company to get a lot more out of them because they know the patient is not going to pay the bill. Right now, I can tell you, my wife had 2 stays in the hospital that cost tens of thousands of dollars. And now there are several companies coming to say, oh, you owe this, owe that. I told her, let me handle it. I'll take care of it. And they're getting, after I see what the insurance company have paid them, they're getting 0. Take me to court. Because I'll use it as a premise. I'll use it as a premise to expose the system further. So you have a choice. You can be satisfied with what the insurance company paid you, or you can go ahead and take me to court, and we'll make a national issue out of this one stay that was tens of thousands of dollars that weren't worth it. So let's see which one they'll do. Go ahead, my brother. I got to get to Ernesto.
I don't agree with you when you said about profit. I don't have an objection to profit for my doctor and nurses.
I don't either.
They need to make a living to pay their bills. That's what profit is to me.
Yes.
What profit is not to me is having a separate company that just have office space and people in suits who don't do healthcare, who act as intermediaries. We don't need them. We have government employees in Washington, and they can dispense the money as government employees who get a salary and benefits, and they pay the bills on our behalf. We pay the money to the government. They disperse the money. That's more efficient, and everybody gets healthcare, not a boiler room, a piece of paper that says insurance on top, and you may or may not get what you paid for.
You nailed it. I got to go to Ernesto, but thank you for your smart call as usual, brother. Peace.
And God bless you.
Yes, sir. Let's go to Ernesto. Come on in, Ernesto.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, sir.
Well, I don't understand why there is countries like Canada, France, England that they have universal healthcare, and here the healthcare system is a mess. I met a person, a couple of weeks ago, retired, 72 years old. He makes $900 on Social Security. His wife makes like $450 or something like that. And they removed from their check $170 each. And it broke my heart because, that's not fair for somebody that is retired to be making so little money that they're broke, and they're working at 72 years old. Mm-hmm. So I don't like this.
Let me tell you, that's why I support something called basic income. Your friends weren't loafers. Your friends went to work every day. They went to work every day, and they probably didn't have enough money to save. They probably only had enough money for their daily lives and dependent on Social Security to live. A lot of people like to say, well, Social Security is not there to give you a retirement. You need to put away money, etc. But at the same time, the same people that are telling you that are not supporting the policies to make sure that companies pay you a living wage that allows you to save money. They are unempathetic in thinking absolutely everybody should have disposable income that they can save some. Not everybody has that disposable income to save. There are a lot of people doing very important work that pays very little. That is why we need something called a basic income, where those people are taken care of. Society depends on them, just like they do depend on a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or anything else. We should have a baseline above poverty. Anything else, my dear friend Ernesto?
No, that's it. I'm just that was my pet peeve.
Thank you, my brother. You have a wonderful day. Let's go to Brother Augie. Come on in, Augie.
Good morning. It seems people forget their history around here. Medical care was a service profession until Nixon. The day before he got kicked out of office, there was a recording that was played here on KPFT because Nixon taped the White House. He bugged it. And there's a recording of a staffer coming into his office for him to sign a bill. And the bill is creating HMOs. Nixon asked the staffer, "What's this?" And the staffer said, "Oh, it's creating HMOs." And he asked, "What's the HMO?" And the staffer said, "Well, that's the Health Maintenance Organization." "Oh, yeah? How does it make its money?" "Well, it makes money by denying its customer service." Denying customer service? Wow, that's great. Let me sign that bill. And ever since then, healthcare became a for-profit profession instead of a service profession. And AMA controlled medical schools, how many students they would be allowed. And they made sure to keep it low because they didn't want all these doctors flooding the market and it'd be more competition for the doctors they had. And when I moved here in Houston in '88, I read the paper, and every Christmas, and after '88 and a couple of years later, on the front pages of the business section would be Cigna and Blue Cross and all these other people talking about their representatives that people would call in to get medical care, how much bonuses they got for denying people medical care. And it was like over $100,000. And these were people that were denying people medical care. And I remember I was lucky I had a union medical plan. And when I was retiring, I said, well, I better get my operations and whatever else I need. And I needed a belly button hernia operation. So I'm in line at this clinic, and right behind me is a businessman. I could tell by the way he was dressed and all that, and everybody was getting a hernia operation. And the nurse is getting him ready to go in the back for his operation. But then another nurse comes with a telephone and said, "Oh, here's your insurance company. They're saying you have to pay for your anesthesiologist." And he said, he blew up because he had called like several months before, telling him he's getting a hernia operation, and they knew everything. They knew the doctor and the hospital he was going to and all that. And now he's getting ready to go, but they're not going to give him his hernia operation until he pays for the anesthesiologist, which is several $1,000s. And I don't know how it turned out because I had to go in and get my operation. And about choices, Howard was talking about choices of doctors. Well, it's not your choice. You don't get to pick your doctors. The company picks the network of doctors. They tell you what choice you got. And the choices are within the state. If you travel out of state, and like people like to travel around the country, if you're out of state, you're probably going to be out of network. So if you go to East Coast or West Coast, need a medical problem, you're probably going to be out of network. And a lot of people don't realize that.
It's a shame, Augie, that the way our system operates and people are whenever we talk about change. Look, they have Kamala Harris, who once supported Medicare for all, had to put her values in a way to not come out and say, I support Medicare for all, because again, people believe private insurance is a choice. Private insurance is not a choice. Private insurance is which slave master do you choose? That is you being a slave and selecting who you want to be your master. And it is so hard to get the message out when there are so many liars out there. I mean, when you see somebody like some of the folks, one person in the chat, all the others, they know the truth. But one person in the chat, completely brainwashed by the system, and they are really some of the clear and present danger to our society, the willfully gullible. But anyway, Augie, I got to go to Harry. So thank you very much for calling, my brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, if the hospital tells you it's a for-profit hospital, it's telling you right there what it is. It's for the profit. It's not for your care.
Absolutely.
All right,
Anything. Thank you very much, Augie. Let's go to Harry. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Egberto. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jack. What you were telling Ernesto there is what Andrew Yang, when he was running for president, and Henry Wallace talked about this when he ran in the 40s, guaranteed income where Americans get $2,000. Well, Andrew Yang was saying like $2,000 a month, but how we should have guaranteed income to help people so then they can afford to help them with their bills, with their insurance. And as you always point out on this, when you talk about healthcare, get those premiums, so those premiums can be brought down, get rid of what the mayor of politics and Wright was saying earlier, get rid of the insurance man and have a single payer. You being a Bernie supporter, Bernie Sanders has wanted this for a long time. We may have had it had we had a President Sanders and not a rip-off artist in Donald Trump. Now, I'll mention that what Bard was saying yesterday, that I should have Donald Trump in my prayers. I do have Donald Trump in my prayers. I hope that he can become a better human being. And as you were saying yesterday, you and Howard, and telling Brian that he was such a bad and poor businessman, which he was, because he just rips people off. He bankrupts people. We don't need someone like that back in charge at the executive level, bankrupting the country and getting us in debt like he did before. We don't need any of that. We need him to, like woman Dawn said, stay on the golf course, play your golf, and pray to God that you can become a better human being. I don't want him shot or anything like that. I don't know. I heard Tag say on to Dr. John and Mike yesterday, this thing was probably staged with this shooter. It may have been. I wouldn't put it past Donald Trump. He may have set something up with this guy that if I get back in the presidency, don't worry, I'll pardon you. It may very well.
That is really speculation, right? So we don't know. I speculated yesterday too. I'll be honest with you, and I said I think it's pretty much on the it's on the other side. But I go back and forth with. I mean, actually, with similar to what you just said, that it doesn't blow past me that all of this is rigged. But again, I know nothing of that, so I can't promote any of that. Yeah.
Yeah, putting it past Trump. One other thing, Elon Musk is supporting what Trump and J.D. Vance are saying with the Haitians about eating cats and dogs. And I was listening on NPR, listening to Democracy Now! Amy was interviewing people about that in Springfield, Ohio. And they were talking about how these Haitians are engineers. They're doctors, they're electricians. They really contributed to that community, bringing that community up. And a lot of them are afraid. One guy was talking about he took his kid out of school because of the bomb threats that they're getting there.
Look, we have a very look. Hold on, Harry. We have a very irresponsible guy that's been running, and so that's a statement of fact. And yes, you hit the nail on the head. It's poetic justice have it that the chief attorney, I believe in Miami, who is handling the case on for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, turns out, guess where the guy's from? Haiti. Anyway, I gotta go start my monologue real quick. This is gonna be a short one, but I need to get this out.
We'll talk some more. And
Thank you, brother.
Have Howard, Jack, and Brother Egberto Willis.
Thank you, brother. Look, thank you. Anyway, folks, the piece I want to cover is again an article ahead of Senate hearings. Doctors decry exorbitant cost of Ozempic. And we've covered Ozempic and Wegovy before, but it's actually gotten sort of to the point that I think we need to have this in people's minds, because if we have it in people's minds, when they go to the election, when they go to their voting box to elections, they'll not fall for the crap that people talk like the stuff that my brother Eric in the chat believes. Oh, single payer, you don't get choices. He wants to choose who his master is. I don't, and I'm sure most of you don't. Anyway, as the U.S. Senate prepares for hearing on Novo Nordisk overcharging Americans for Ozempic and Wegovy, Senator Bernie Sanders on Monday released a letter from 253 health professionals asking Congress to take on the exorbitant prices set by manufacturers for insulin, non-insulin diabetes, and weight loss medications. The clinicians wrote that drugs including semaglutide, marketed by Novo Nordisk as Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight loss, and tirzepatide, marketed by Eli Lilly as Mounjaro for diabetes and Zepbound for weight loss, have been revolutionary in the management of chronic diabetes and obesity. However, even the most transformative medications cannot help our patients if they cannot afford them, states a letter which is addressed to Sanders, chair of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pension, and Senator Bill Cassidy, the panel's ranking member. Studies have shown that, listen to this, I want everybody to listen to this in detail. Studies have shown that semaglutide can be manufactured for as little as $5 per month, substantially lower before. Again, semaglutide is the chemical inside of Ozempic, is the chemical inside of Wegovy. Remember, Wegovy is just a higher dosage of Ozempic, okay? Those are brand names. The chemical is called semaglutide. Semaglutide can be manufactured for one patient for $5 a month. $5 a month. You know how much it's cost in the United States of America? For Ozempic, it costs $968 per month. For Wegovy, which is the one for weight loss, $1,349 per month. For insurance companies that cover it, you don't see the price, but that's what the cost is. If it doesn't hurt you that a product that costs $5 to make is sold that way, which save lives. Now, it saves people's lives. But if you think corporations are good people, are good citizens, remember, when Novo Nordisk engineers or scientists, they developed the product. Remember, they developed the product known because they knew, well, I take a piece of this peptide from the body of a human being and see what it does. They do that kind of research for a few years, and they are able to do that research because of the composite knowledge that came before them. Remember, all the chemical calculations that they are doing, who developed the semaglutide, they learned it from some university. That university learned it from some other university. That other university learned it from some other university. So every scientist builds upon the work ethic, the studies, the research of other scientists. So this particular one found out that, hey, this stuff emulates a PEP1 or whatever it's called, and they develop a product out of it that costs them $5 to make. But it's not only that it costs $1,349 per month here in the United States. The same company, Novo Nordisk, sells Wegovy. What it sells for $1,349 in America, they sell it in the United Kingdom for $92. $92. Really dólares, but I like to call dollars pain. $92. $92. In the United States, it costs $1,349. They sell it in Denmark for $186. So you see, Americans, we are the suckers of the world. They know that we are accustomed to just being ripped off in the healthcare industry. So while other countries go ahead and charge fairly reasonable prices, we get stuck paying these ridiculous charges, extracting our monies because they can. And for those who say, well, if we don't allow these people to make a profit, which they can make a huge profit, if we don't allow it, somehow innovation will stop. That's crapo. The people who are making the profits from that $1,349 sale isn't the scientist that developed the drug. It isn't the engineer that developed the drug. It isn't the engineers and the people on the factory floor that are producing the drugs. They aren't the ones seeing the profit from charging $1,349. It is the shareholders sitting on their butt with their pool drinking some tea. It is the bonuses going to the executives that are making the profit on your back. You are the ones. When you see them flying in their private jets, when you see them living in their penthouses in New York, you are the one. That's your money. And people would have you believe that somehow you are asking for something for nothing. It's not the case. You are just asking not to be ripped off. You can further read the paper in my newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. But it upsets us. And this is with this Novo Nordisk, Wegovy, and Ozempic. But it's the same thing that applies in product after product after product. This inflation that we talk about, that Eric likes to call Bidenflation because he chooses to be willfully ignorant in how our systems work. You heard what Kroger did. They increased the price of eggs above and beyond their increased costs because of the oil companies stiffing us all as transportation and all these things became more expensive because they created a false shortage. Folks, we got to wake up. All right, I got a lot of calls coming in again, and so I'm going to have to give everybody 1 minute because we're close to the end. Come on in, Raymond, line number 2. All right, that's busy. Let's go ahead and go to Art, line number 3. Oh, line number 3. Art, come on in.
The real issue, I think, part of it, and there's no one real issue with Ozempic, is that there's a lot of side effects to that. And for it to be subsidized by the government, to be given prescribed to those that are having trouble with diabetes or weight, there are other ways to control that, and that's through the diet. I can say that because, being pre-diabetic myself, they try to get me on that. My insurance would have covered it, no problem with that. The thing is, I didn't want it. There's too many side effects on it.
Right.
And now they frown upon, if you go to the gym and you try to eat healthy, they consider you, some, not all, will consider you, a far right just for working out. And it's
whoa. Hold on 1 second, my dear brother. My brother.
No, not you.
No. But what I'm saying, I don't know anybody. I know nobody who would consider somebody as responsible as you are going to the gym, eating right. In fact, I am trying to do that myself. And you are absolutely right, sir. If we would eat better, if we would eat and if we would do more exercise, I get up at 4 in the mornings to exercise. I go to bed at midnight. I get up at 4 to exercise. I've already done my bike. So you are absolutely right, sir. But right-wingers or left-wingers are not going to say, oh, there's something wrong with you going and do that. You're doing the right thing. And I think most sensible people.
I know, but that is an argument. That is an argument. You can research it, and they I think it was in the summer of 22. That narrative it died. The narrative was pushed.
I hope it would. But let me tell you something else, though. Art.
Anybody that was working out. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, because let me tell you. First of all, good kudos to you for being pre-diabetic and taking care of it the right way. That's a perfect thing. But the second thing that I want to tell you is we also have the promotion of all these great looking, tasting food that looks just marvelous. And they market it because they know what our weaknesses are. And most of us will succumb to those weaknesses, why we need these drugs. Okay. So I'm saying you are strong. That's great. Not everybody is as lucky as you.
Oh, no. I'm not strong, man. Halloween's around the corner. Halloween's around anywhere. No. It is tough out there, and I give it to those people that are trying to, they're struggling with weight. Some are not even weight. They're high blood pressure, cholesterol, right. Whatever the case. Not everything can be controlled strictly by diet. Some medications are needed. But the point is, we always talk about, going, to the doctor and they want to give us prescription. They don't even bring up nutrition. There's a guy named Casey Means. He's been around different podcasts. He used to be a lobbyist for the food industry. Y'all can look up his name, Casey Means. He's former
Art. First of all, I want you to come and tell me this another time, but I got the main point that you're trying to make good. That's all right. But look, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
The right has their oligarchs. The Democrats have their oligarchs, and those are Pfizer, the drug companies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't want any oligarchs. Come on in, Donald.
Morning. Your last caller just hit what I was going to say is, why do you exercise? And not everything can be cured by a magic pill, and that's the problem with Americans. We think everything can be solved with money or a magic pill. We have to look at the root cause first, look at the genetics, see what your genetic disposition is, and then go from there, because your body fat is what, 8%, 9%? Just looking at pictures. You maintain that through diet and exercise.
Let me tell you, I do the diet and exercise because I want to control my blood pressure, my cholesterol, and I hate the medical system. I think the medical system is a fraud. And not only that, I'm going to say something that's going to shock a lot of people, but Black men don't get good care in the healthcare system. And I know that, I try not to be racial, but when I had a doctor tell me, don't bother coming in because, we don't find things that, there are a lot of incidents that I've written about. My sister is a doctor and she confirms this. She said, unfortunately, that's the case. My daughter graduated medical school and she said the same thing. Unfortunately, that is the case. So I know a lot of people will take objection to that. But that's just a reality. I got to take care of myself. And that's why I work out. That's why I try to eat right. I have high blood pressure and I try to maintain it as best I can with the exercise and diet. Anything else, Donald?
Oh, yeah. This one's for Howard. If Howard, you get a chance up on 45 in the Woodlands, go to Best Buy and look at their Magnolia Center, because they have Macintosh tube amps. And if your budget's around 40 or 50 grand, they can make you a awesome system that you can hear everything in the way it was originally recorded. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Donald. Donald's a good guy. Donald is a good guy. Okay.
Day. Yes, sir.
You too, sir.
Take it easy.
All right. Brian, 1 minute. Come on in, Brian. Brian, 1 minute.
Okay, yeah. Good morning, everyone. Margaret Thatcher had a meeting with Mikhail Gorbachev long time ago. And he asked her, who sets your prices for all this food? I mean, who buys all this food? The price sets the price was Margaret Thatcher's answer. And then Mikhail Gorbachev, he comes to the United States. And this is a true story, too, by the way. It's not a fantasy. He went to a Randall's in Clear Lake. And that one thing changed the world right there. That was the downfall of the Soviet Union. Because he asked the grocer, how do you get pineapples in the middle of how do you get pineapples from this far away? And they were shocked. They couldn't believe that price control, And who wants to do this now? Kamala Harris.
Let me answer. So my question to you is simple. Do you think companies should charge whatever they can? In other words, Ozempic, which is providing a drug that many people need, do you think it's okay for them to sell it for $1,300 in America and $92 in England? You think that's okay?
Okay, is that English dollars or U.S. dollars?
U.S. dollars.
What's the currency rate?
And English don't use it. England uses a pound, not the dollar. But when we convert it to dollars, it doesn't matter. They pay $92. They pay $92, and we pay $1,349. We're talking same currency here. Do you think that's okay?
Oh, it's not. No, it's not. No, I don't. It's not the same currency, by the way.
Brian, I said we've converted it, and it's equivalent to $92 in England, $1,349 in the US. That's what it is. Now, answer me. Is that correct or not? Is that okay or not?
I'm going to say probably no. But
okay, thank you. Well, stop then. So you agree with me? You agree with me? And what I'm showing you is wait, Brian, let me finish, please. When I show you the reality, Brian, you see the evil in what I speak about, and then it goes against what you've just said. Because again, if you don't think that we should pay $1,349 for what they charge England $92 for, then if you think that's wrong, you agree with me that something needs to be done.
No, I don't agree with that. It's called a free market enterprise.
So you're saying it's okay then? It's okay for them to charge us $1,349 as they charge Great Britain $92. It's okay. That's okay with you.
No, there's something wrong with your map. There's something wrong with your map. And
no, sir, no. There's nothing wrong with my math. I just gave you the absolute statement. I gotta go, but you look it up yourself. Anyway, my math is perfect. Please let me go to the studio. Go, my brother.
All right, we got a couple of things coming up here on KPFT our listeners will be interested in. General Manager's Report tomorrow morning with UTalk. It's from 8 until 9. Sunday, the 22nd, a remote from under the volcano with Clint Broussard live, blues and hi-fi. And then on Thursday, the 26th, from 1 till 3, Christian's Tailgate will host the R&R show. And that's just kind of a thing going on with us.
I am thankful that you did that because Marlo told me to do that. Sent me an email. I'm like, I forgot. Thank you.
All right.
Jack?
He says no.
All right. Anyway, folks, look, first of all, love you all my callers, listeners, everybody. Eric Hayes, Billy, Allison, Irwin, Paul Fleming. Thank you guys for being here. Look, guys, you can get all the videos at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.